Alright, so NetEase finally nerfed Luna's ultimate, reduced it from 12 seconds to 10 seconds. Praise and rejoice, they actually listened to us. But I'm here to tell you why the change is actually not enough, and why it doesn't really matter all that much, because Luna's ult is broken for a number of reasons, and the duration is just one element of the ultimate that is busted. So let's talk about it. So what makes Luna's ult broken? Why is it the strongest ultimate in the game? Why is it specifically the strongest support ult in the game? There's 4 elements to Luna's ult that makes it broken. The first element is, of course, the duration. Previously, it was 12 seconds. 12 seconds is a very long time in Marvel Rivals, especially when you're playing stuff like, considering it's a objective-based game, you could just stall cart for 12 seconds, team fights for 12 seconds, right? You can stall other enemy ults for 12 seconds. That's a long time. 10 seconds is a bit more reasonable, but again, it's not enough. The second reason the ultimate is broken is it's an instant cast ultimate. Basically, if you compare Luna's ult to someone like Cloak and Dagger, or even Invisible Woman, or Jeff, right? Or actually, I think Mantis is also instant cast, but the two more important characters, which are Invis Woman and Cloak and Dagger, you can kill both of those heroes out of their cast time for their ult. So I'm sure you've heard at some point where you're fighting in a team fight, you hear the Cloak and Dagger say, "us against the world," and then she still dies anyway, right? Like, she dies before she gets that first dash off to start her ultimate. That's what I'm talking about. There is counterplay, or there is punishment for a Cloak and Dagger, or even an Invis Woman, using their ultimate at the wrong time, just pushing their button at the wrong time. Luna is not in that same boat. At any moment, at any time, if Luna even has 1 HP, right, your whole team is shooting her. If that bitch presses that fucking ult button, over with. She gets the ult off, she is invincible, and the rest of her team is invincible. And they're invincible for 10 to 12 seconds, right, depending on if you're playing on the new patch or not. So that's one of the biggest problems with it. There's no counterplay to stop her from using the ult, right? It's just, does she have ult? Did she push the button? Okay, kite out, right? Or use your ults in response. Which leads into the third reason why the ultimate is busted. It provides too much healing. It's too much. Like, you're just invincible. You can't die unless you, as the enemy team, stack ults, right? Like, you use Venom with a damage boost, or Venom with a damage boosting ult. You're not killing Luna, right? Or like Punisher with a damage boost or something like that. You're not killing anyone through Luna ult. It's just not gonna happen. Even if your whole team focus fires, and even then, like, come on, that's pretty impractical to have happen. Maybe, big emphasis on maybe, if your whole team hits crits, right, and focus fires a single target, maybe you kill through that ultimate, but let's be real, that's not happening, right? Like, you need either massive burst damage from multiple sources, or you need to counter with, like, 2 ults at the same time that are also, like, massive burst damage ults or damage boosts, right? That's the only way you're killing through Luna ult. You can't just shoot and apply enough damage. That's what makes it really, really unreasonable. And again, it's healing not just to Luna, but also to her teammates. Her and her teammates are just invincible. You just can't kill them during the duration of the ultimate. It's ridiculous. The final thing that makes the ult insanely busted, really, like, there's more that I could go on to. In fact, I think I will, right? Is Luna can move, right? Not only can she move during the ult, but she gets increased movement speed during the ultimate. So even if you're using something like Magneto, who, you're just gonna drop a metal orb on her head, or just dunk on her, that's hard to hit because Luna can move so fast. So she's dancing, healing her allies indefinitely, they can't die, and it's hard to land your counter ultimates on the Luna because she gets increased movement speed. What? Why? Why did she need that? Like, why not just make her move at normal speed? Like, I could understand giving her a movement speed bonus when she first casts the ult, right? So that she can get to her teammates in time. But for the duration of the ultimate, she has increased movement speed. It's completely ridiculous. To put it in perspective, again, Cloak and Dagger, there's a pause between each of Cloak and Dagger's dashes where she leaves behind the carpet. So it's much easier, and even then, it's not like the easiest thing to do in the world. There are plenty of Magnetos who still miss, right? But, like, you could just time it to when she stops, and then just bonk her on the head with your ult. Or if you're Iron Man, right, time the dash, time your pulse for when she dashes. There's definitely a skill ceiling there on Iron Man and even on Magneto, but there's counterplay right? And she's not just like, she doesn't have infinite mobility and increased movement speed like Luna does. That just makes her impossible to hit. Not impossible, you know what I mean. It's just absurd that she gets movement speed on top of everything else that we've discussed. Finally, as if the devs felt all of what we just described wasn't enough, Luna also gets bonus health when she casts her ultimate. So it's like, we're gonna give you movement speed, it's instant cast, it heals a shit ton while you're inside of it, and also just to triple down and make sure that you can't die when you cast this, we're gonna give you bonus health, we're gonna give you shield. Just to make sure you don't die. And people legitimately wonder why people say Luna is overtuned, why her ultimate is busted. That's why. No other ult in the game, no other character has all 4 of those things, or all 5, depending on how you look at it, right? No other character's ult is that overtuned to ensure its success, right? Imagine if Star-Lord ult gave you damage resistance and healing over time, and you gained immunity, right? Invulnerability frames on cast so that you can't die during the cast. That's the level of ridiculous we're talking about here. Like, there needs to be counterplay in response to her ultimate, or it needs to have a reduced duration, right? You wanna know why no one complains about Mantis ult, even though Mantis's ult is basically instant cast? It's because her ult doesn't last that long. It lasts, what, 5 seconds? 5-6 seconds? Maybe? If that. It gives her team a movement speed buff, and it grants them overhealth. That's it. And like, that's reasonable. That's completely reasonable. Whereas Luna is just, yep, here's 10, 12 seconds, increased movement speed, overhealth, and it heals your allies a shit ton. Also, if your other teammate just so happens to pop their ult, right, their support ult, and you stack support ults by accident, no problem. You could just switch to damage boost on Luna, and now it's almost like you comboed your ults. It's like that wasn't an accidental misplay, right? It's fine. Just, you can't fail on that hero. Even if you stack ults, it's still beneficial on Luna. That's why people complain about Luna. That's why her ultimate is overtuned. And that's why, in my personal opinion, the 10-second duration, or dropping her ult to 10 seconds, while it's nice, it's good to have alongside the nerfs to Loki, right? So he's not, the Luna Loki combo is not as strong as it was before. It's still gonna be very strong, right? Like, you're fooling yourself if you think, if you're running Loki Luna, right? Like, that's not a good team comp anymore. Like, that's still a very good combo for supports. Like, you're out of your mind if you think it's bad now. It's just a little bit worse. And like, not by that much, if I'm being completely honest with you. So I think like my point of view on this has always been, it's not the duration that's the problem. Even though people are calling for the duration nerfs, right? They increased the charge rate of her ult prior to this. They really did not want to fucking touch the numbers on this ult outside of its charge rate for the longest time. So they increased the charge rate so she doesn't get it as frequently, which is also nice, I'm not gonna lie. And now we've reduced the duration. People are still gonna complain about the ultimate, because again, it's not the duration, it's not the charge rate, it's the numbers. The healing number for this ult is just too high. No matter how long it was, like, unless it was like 4 seconds, unless it got dropped to like 4 or 5 seconds, people are still gonna complain about it, because it is still 10 seconds of invincibility, of no one dies unless you ult in response, right? So if you're in a team fight and Luna gets her, like, the rest of your team does not have ults, and Luna pops her ult, your team just kites out. You just have to say, okay, well, we can't kill her, right? Their team is invincible for 10 seconds. Let's just leave. We have to give up point. We have to give up the team fight. We just lose this team fight for 10 seconds, and we have to kite out. That's not fun to play against, right? Especially when there's, again, very limited counterplay. So I think the solution to Luna's broken ult actually would have been something along the lines of just tweaking the way the ultimate works a little bit. Like, my biggest suggestion will always be that Luna, because it's a concert and songs tend to have phases, right? Maybe phases isn't the right word to use to describe this, but like, the beginning of a song is almost never the same as like the chorus or the end of the song, is what I'm trying to get at. So in most songs take you on like a journey, right? Whatever. We're getting into like music theory and stuff like that, and that's not the entire point. The point is, a way you could fix her ult is, whatever the max duration of her ult is, Luna will heal for half of that, and she will damage boost for half of that. So if her ult's duration in total is 10 seconds, you get 5 seconds of healing and 5 seconds of damage boost. And I think you can still make Luna like give the Luna player some level of like choice in priority. I'm looking for a different word, but it's escaping me at the moment. But you give them some level of autonomy by agency. That was the word I was looking for. Sorry. You give them some level of agency by allowing them to swap between healing and damage boost at any time, but you only have 5 seconds of each, right? So you can spend 5 seconds on healing and then swap. My bad. You can spend 3 seconds on healing and then swap to damage boost for 5 seconds and then swap to healing for the last 2 seconds of the ult, right? But you will never be able to heal for more than 5 seconds at a time during her ult. I think that would have been the ideal way to nerf her ultimate. Instead, right, it's 10 seconds of invulnerability, which is still like not great. Or another alternative you could have done if you want to nerf her ult is the more people who are in her ultimate, right, the less healing it gives out, right? Like it has a set pool of healing that it can give out per second, and the more people it's giving that healing out to, the less it's able to heal them over time. So let's say it normally heals 100, right, per second. But if there's 5 people in it, that drops down to 20 per person per second, because there's only 100 per healing per second that it can dish out to people. I think that would have been a good way to nerf her ult, or to make it more reasonable, right? Because again, it's the fact that she is unkillable. Not only is she unkillable, she's CC immune. You can't stun her. You can't displace her, right? None of that. You can't do anything to her. She is invincible. And the rest of her team also gains healing that basically makes them invincible. That's what makes the ult broken. This change doesn't really fix that, right? The change to Loki doesn't really fix that. Invisible Woman just got buffed, right, with her ult. Jeff just got buffed with his ult. Like, support ults are still going to be very strong. I have no idea why they decided to buff Invis ult for this patch. Jeff's ult needed the buff. We'll talk about Jeff later, but the Jeff ult buff is fine. But Invis, why did we buff her? We did not need to buff her ultimate. Like, nerf Luna's ult, and Invis instantly becomes a little bit better, right? Her ult becomes more acceptable. Personally, I think Invis's ult is the most balanced in its current state, not in the new patch, and the way that it is in the game right now. It's the most balanced support ult in the game. It provides good healing. You can interrupt her through the cast. It applies a negative effect to the enemies that's not overwhelming, right? It doesn't feel like you can't kill through her ult. It's locked to a specific location, right? She has to actually like aim it and place it in a proper location. It doesn't last for too long. It's perfectly balanced. And they're slowly power creeping the rest of the support ults. And it's not a good look. But that's my perspective on Luna. Again, I don't think this will be enough. I still think she is very strong, and NetEase is still insanely biased towards Luna. Understandable. She's their poster child, right? Their golden girl. So I don't expect them to really touch her in the way that they would touch like a tank or something like that. But it would be nice to see more substantial nerfs to the character. But at the same time, right, supports. You want more people to play support. You want more people to play tank. You don't really want to nerf Luna too hard, considering the fact that people aren't playing support and tank as much as they probably should. So I kind of understand where they're coming from, but just keep an eye on this, right? This is not enough. After a few seasons, you're still going to get complaints about this. You're still going to need to nerf her further. But that's all I have to say on that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.